My husband walked out on our family to join some no women allowed group, and then years later, came crawling back expecting a warm welcome. I'm 29 now. I got married 6 years ago, but we've been divorced for 3. I have 2 sons with my ex-husband, Adam. He's 30. Our boys are 4 and 5, and I have full custody because he didn't want the burden of raising a family. We were happy together for 3 years. We had 2 amazing kids and were even planning to buy a house, finally moving out of our little apartment. Then out of nowhere, he tells me he wants to be free and explore the world. We've been together since high school. We were each other's everything. He was my first in every way, and I was his. I always believed we'd be together forever. He never seemed bothered by the fact that he hadn't been with anyone else but me. But 3 years into our marriage, he said he was unhappy. He said we were both carrying this burden, meaning our marriage and family, and that we needed to let it go so we could really live. It sounded completely insane, like something a lunatic would say, as my dad put it. I couldn't make sense of it because I truly believed he loved me. Adam insisted he did love me, but that he also loved himself and wanted to give himself a chance to see the world. I even offered to open our marriage temporarily, though it would have hurt me deeply, just to keep him from leaving for real. But that wasn't enough for him. He wanted a clean break. A full divorce to keep things honest, as he put it. That conversation shattered me. It hit me like a truck. I never saw it coming. When I broke down crying, he told me everything would be fine and that I had to believe in our love. He said, if we're meant to be together, I'll come back to you someday. It was ridiculous and cruel. But that's how our marriage ended. One day he packed his bags and just walked out to explore the world alone, leaving me and our 2 babies behind without blinking an eye. I asked him what he thought would happen with the kids, and he actually suggested I leave them with someone I trust and go travel to, meet new people, grow, and live my life. I was stunned. To me, if you bring kids into the world, you raise them. You protect them. You meet their needs. A parent doesn't just run off to find themselves while abandoning their children. That's when I realized he'd completely lost it. So I stopped fighting the divorce. I didn't contest anything. He wanted out. I let him go. The whole process went smoothly because he didn't want anything and was ready to give everything up. His parents had money, so child support was never an issue. He got visitation rights but almost never used them. And when he did show up, he made me drop the kids off at his parents' house while he sat in another room, just so he wouldn't have to face his past. But even those rare visits stopped after the first couple of months. The real reason behind his behavior? I didn't find out until much later, from my friend Rachel, who just so happened to have mutual acquaintances with Adam. Turns out, Rachel's cousin was part of the same group of guys that influenced Adam. He was the one who told her everything about 2 months after our divorce. I don't blame her for not telling me earlier. She and her cousin weren't that close, and honestly, she didn't even know the truth until the divorce was already finalized. And even if I had found out sooner, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. The divorce still would have happened. From what Rachel told me, her cousin was living a pretty wild lifestyle. He was all about chasing thrills, and so were the other guys in that group, maybe 6 or 7 of them. They believed relationships were a trap. So they made a kind of no-attachments pact. Adam was brought into that group by a coworker who thought he'd be a perfect fit. Even though Adam had a wife and 2 kids at the time. Rachel's cousin even bragged to her, and a few other relatives, that they managed to convert this one guy. They convinced him that a wife and kids were dead weight, that he needed to ditch it all to succeed in life. And Adam? He listened. He divorced me, gave up custody, and fully bought into their ideology. He bragged that their group was gaining traction, and that they managed to recruit a new member, proving their beliefs were powerful and persuasive. Rachel, curious, asked her cousin what this guy looked like. She just couldn't imagine what kind of man would abandon his family over something like that. And when her cousin pointed to Adam in a group photo from one of their meetups, she put 2 and 2 together and messaged me the second she left the event. It all happened at some family gathering of hers. The second it ended, she asked if I was free to meet. Thank God I said yes. She rushed over to my apartment and told me everything. The truth about what Adam had really been doing. And I was livid. The real reason my husband walked out on his wife and kids? To join some ridiculous bro tribe and look bold, adventurous, and free? He abandoned his family for that? Honestly, once it sunk in, I realized I might have handled it better if he had just cheated. At least that would have made some sense. At least that would have felt human. But this was insane. I wanted to call him and scream at the top of my lungs. But I didn't. Because once I understood the real reason he left, I knew for sure the man had lost his mind. There was no fixing that. And no point holding on to any hope that I could talk sense into him. Because nothing I said or did would ever change a damn thing. I knew it for sure now. So I made a decision to make the most of my situation and raise my sons to be better men than their father ever was. I threw myself into work, determined that they'd never feel abandoned. I hired a nanny and started working twice as hard so I wouldn't have to bring anything home with me. And the moment I got back, every second of my time was for my kids. My parents were a huge help. Even my former in-laws tried to chip in here and there, though it was minimal. I think they were just ashamed of what their son had done. They were the ones paying child support every month, and I knew it because word was Adam blew all his money on exotic trips in luxury hotel suites. Now that he didn't have a family, he could spend it all on whatever nonsense he wanted without anyone judging him. I did everything I could to raise my boys right. And now I've got two sweet, well-behaved little guys who adore each other. We're all the family we need. I'd nearly erased Adam from my mind. Thinking about our marriage was just a waste of emotional energy. I worked my ass off, and now I've got a great position and earn twice as much as I used to. These last 2 years? Solid. I thought I was finally in the clear, nothing left to worry about. But that all changed last week when Adam suddenly showed up after 3 years of complete silence. It was a Sunday. The kids and I were just relaxing at home. We've actually saved up enough to buy a house, but I stayed in the same apartment because I love it, plus it's close to work. Clearly, I should have moved. Because staying here meant Adam still knew where to find me. That day he just showed up at the door. No warning. And I swear it felt like the air got knocked right out of my lungs. It had been years. For a few seconds we just stared at each other. I took in the sight of him, awkward, holding a giant bouquet of red roses, smiling through tears. Call me heartless, but I didn't feel even a flicker of warmth. Not nostalgia. Not nerves. Just pure burning rage. Before he could say a single word, I slammed the door in his face so hard the floor actually shook. I told the boys to go to their rooms because I knew he was going to try to convince me of something. And I knew I wouldn't be able to stay calm. I was boiling with hate, hurt, and fury, and I didn't want my kids anywhere near the storm that was about to hit. Sure enough, the moment they were out of sight, Adam started whining through the door, saying he hadn't expected that kind of welcome. I could hear him fighting not to break down crying. And honestly, it made me even angrier. He was the one who put me through hell for years, eh? And now he had the audacity to show up in tears like he was the victim? Then he started talking about how he'd come back to apologize, how he regretted everything, and how all he wanted now was to get his old life back. I was stunned, but I let him finish talking because some part of me wanted to hear that apology, whatever that word even meant coming from him. I'd erased him from my life completely. But his sudden appearance had stirred everything back up. And maybe in some twisted way, I enjoyed the chance to put him in his place. I wanted him to know without a doubt that we were doing better without him. That no one missed him. Not even a little. He talked for a couple minutes about how much fun he'd had these past few years. But how it eventually left him feeling empty. Because at the end of the day he had no one to come home to. Just another hotel room. He said that over the last few months he'd been feeling like something was missing, and that he finally made a hard decision to come back and apologize. So he could make things right. Apparently, all that thrill of traveling and discovering life with his new group had worn off just months in. But he stuck with it, afraid to admit it wasn't what he really wanted. He told himself that since he'd sacrificed so much to chase that lifestyle, he had to keep living it. But now, he just wanted to go back. Start over. The more he spoke, the more I wanted to throw the door open and punch him in his stupid face. I couldn't take another second of his nonsense. So I cut him off, told him to leave us alone. Said I didn't want to see or hear from him ever again. But Adam being Adam, he thought that if he just kept talking, if he begged long enough, I'd give in. Typical. At some point, it got so irritating I couldn't take it anymore. Plus, it was almost dinner time and I had to get the boys. So I banged on the door and yelled, "We are not your family anymore. Get lost." I think that actually hit him, because after that silence, I didn't hear another word from him. While the kids were eating, I called my lawyer right away just in case. Told him everything that had happened. Then I called my parents. Told them Adam had shown up, what he said, and how I responded. They assured me I handled it perfectly. and that I had nothing to worry about. I didn't call my former in-laws. I didn't know what I'd even say to them. And honestly, I figured Adam would tell them himself. But just as I hung up, my phone rang again. It was Rachel. Since she was the one who told me the truth about why Adam left in the first place, I had a feeling this call would be important too. And I was right. First thing she asked was, "Did Adam come by?" I said yeah. Then she told me her cousin had called her recently and told her the real reason Adam came back. Rachel and I have always been super close. Ever since she told me about her cousin and that group, she asked him to keep her updated if anything came up about Adam, because I was the one he walked out on. Once her cousin found out what Adam had done to me, I think the pride he used to feel about recruiting him disappeared fast. But I don't blame them. The only one responsible is Adam, because at the end of the day, he chose to be spineless. Her cousin promised he'd keep us in the loop about anything going on with Adam, and at one point he even reached out to me personally to apologize. I forgave him. I never blamed him for what happened, but we weren't exactly friends either. He'd been giving Rachel updates about what Adam was up to, so through her I always had a pretty good idea of what was going on. Funny thing, after the divorce, Adam blocked me on everything. Every platform. Everywhere. And now the cousin had reached out to Rachel again, this time to tell her the real reason Adam came back. She passed it all along to me. Their group still had a shared group chat from when they first met. And just a couple hours before Adam showed up at my door, he dropped a message in there about what he was about to do. First, the guys seemed to support him, but then Adam snapped. He accused them of giving him fake support, said they'd betrayed him. He started yelling in the chat, furious that he had sacrificed everything. He gave up his wife, his kids, his whole life just to live like them. And now it turns out most of them had moved on. The truth? Adam was the last idiot standing. The only one who actually went through with abandoning his family to party with the boys. And those boys? They're all dating someone now. They told him straight up, "You can't expect us to hold on to the same mindset forever." That whole no women, no attachments thing? It was something they came up with when they were young and stupid. But now most of them are 30-something adults, and that lifestyle doesn't appeal to them anymore. In fact, a couple of them have been in serious relationships for over a year. One guy's even engaged. So all that macho bragging from the past? Yeah, completely worthless now. And Adam? He's the only one who actually lost something. He's the only one who truly bought into all that crap they preached. And now? He's furious about it. There was a huge fight in the group. These were the same guys who once congratulated him for walking out on me. Now they're all settling down and chasing the life he gave up for them. And sure, some of them still tried to support him when he said he wanted to come back. But for Adam, that wasn't enough. He wanted them to apologize. He actually thought they owed him an apology for making him leave his wife and kids. And that's what started the whole blowout. The guys refused, and honestly, they were right. They never told Adam to leave his family. All they did was share their views. No one ever said, "You have to ditch your wife and kids to be part of the group." If anything, he could have still stayed friends with them, even without quitting his life. Sure, it wouldn't have been exactly the same. He might not have joined them on every trip, because he had responsibilities at home, but no one gave him an ultimatum. He left us on his own, chasing a life he thought he wanted, just to fit in. And now he's doing the same thing all over again. Now that most of those guys have gotten into relationships, he felt the pressure again. He wanted to be like them again. And that's the real reason he came back. Not out of guilt. Not because he missed his family. Not because of some emotional void like he tried to sell me. When I heard all this from Rachel, I was shaking. Because honestly, I had been feeling guilty for slamming the door in his face. That's why I called my parents. To hear someone tell me I did the right thing. If I'd known all this beforehand, I swear he would have gotten a whole lot worse from me than just the slam door. But Rachel's cousin had been swamped with work at the time. And while all that drama was unfolding in their group chat, he hadn't checked his phone. He only saw the messages later. And as soon as he did, he called Rachel. And she called me right after. So yeah, I found all of this out after Adam's surprise visit. But now that I knew the truth, I made up my mind completely. There's no way I'm letting him back in. And I refused to feel guilty about it. Because Adam never felt guilty. Not for what he put me through. Not for abandoning his kids. So why should I feel anything? He's just a horrible person. Period. I mentally prepared myself for him to come crawling back again. But nothing happened. Days went by. Total silence. I even asked Rachel to check in with her cousin. See if he knew anything. But he had no clue either. Because after that argument in the chat, Adam blocked everyone from the group. Even Rachel's cousin, who didn't even take part in the fight, and only found out about it after the fact. That was a problem for me, because if he was blocked, I had no way of knowing what Adam might do next. And Adam's the kind of guy who won't even buy a pair of shoes without asking 5 people what they think first. He never makes decisions on his own. And now suddenly he's cut everyone off? I'm left in the dark. So when my former in-laws called me 3 days ago, I was totally caught off guard. I had no idea what was coming. They said they were calling to talk about what I told Adam when he came by to make things right. I told them straight. I don't want him back. That's it. But then they started saying that they've been paying child support this whole time. That they've made sure their grandkids never went without. So I had no right to say Adam wasn't part of the family anymore. We got into a full-on argument. They started defending him. I snapped. And I hung up. I keep replaying it all in my head. But I still don't get what I supposedly did wrong. Because honestly, I don't think I did anything wrong at all. But in one thing, my former in-laws were right. They really have held up their end of the agreement. And legally, Adam does still have visitation rights. He just hasn't used them in forever. I don't know what to do anymore. On the one hand, I do want my kids to have a father. Even though I've been doing it all on my own. That's why I've never tried to take anything away from him. And honestly, I don't even know if I have the legal right to do that. Right now, I'm just lost. All I can think about is my children. Was I wrong to tell my ex-husband that we're not his family anymore? After he left us for 3 years? So before we get to the update and what happened next, I want to ask you, everyone reading this, what would you have done? Would you forgive someone like that? A dreamer? A man who clearly had no idea what he wanted? Or would you have shut the door just like I did? And to all the married men out there, how often do you even think about walking away like this guy did? Because honestly, I think more men fantasize about it than we want to admit. Anyway, here's the update. Hi again, everyone. Thanks for your comments and support. I've decided to file an appeal. I'm going to fight to have Adam's custody rights removed completely. I don't know if I'll win, but it's worth trying. It's been 2 days since I shared my story, and that was the most common advice I received. So I'm going to act on it. My parents support me too. The fact that Adam and his parents pay child support just means they're fulfilling the legal part of the agreement. But everything else? That was on me. I raised our kids while he was off having fun with his bros. He doesn't get to show up years later and decide when he's ready to be a parent. On his terms. Today, I officially filed to terminate Adam's parental rights. And honestly, I regret not doing it sooner. I should have filed the moment he stopped visiting, a few months after he left. But what's done is done. Better late than never. A lot of you commented about my decision, and I take back what I said earlier about not wanting to take away the kid's father. Because the truth is, they never had one to begin with. And who's to say Adam won't vanish again? Who's to say he won't get restless and walk out once more? He's been gone for 3 years. Let him stay gone. If he wants to live for himself, fine, but not at the cost of my sanity or my kids' emotional well-being. I won't allow that. And no, I don't think I'm taking anything away from my children because they never had a real father to begin with. There's nothing to miss. So, I didn't manage to get his parental rights fully terminated. But now, legally, he can only see the kids if I'm physically present. It's not everything I hoped for, but it's something. At least now, he doesn't get to show up and call the shots whenever he feels like it. If someday he can prove to the court that he's capable of being a stable and reliable father, then maybe the agreement will be reconsidered. But as of now, that's the maximum access he's getting. As for me, he's never coming back into my life. Ever. That's not up for discussion. After the court hearing, he tried to talk to me again. I lost it. I straight up told him I knew all about his pathetic need to fit in with his little group, and that he should go marry one of his bros, because he sure as hell isn't getting me back. And if he wasn't the father of my children, I wouldn't even look twice at someone like him. Then I turned around and walked away, with my kids beside me, leaving him and his parents standing there with their jaws on the floor. And you know what? Felt damn good. So yeah, this is where things stand right now. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm glad this part at least turned out in the kids' favor. They're all that matters to me. And if Adam can someday step up, become a real responsible parent, then maybe my boys won't have to grow up without a father. Maybe they won't have to learn how to shave by watching YouTube videos. But if he tries anything stupid again, he'll regret it. He's already messed with me enough. But I will not let him mess with them. Not now. Not ever.